All right, everybody, welcome back to Roamer. Guess what? Ramcharger news is starting to break. We are starting to finally get information about this product right on schedule, maybe a day or two late, but pretty much on schedule. The media at least got their first preview of this product, and various outlets are reporting different pieces of information. And I'm going to do my best to try to break down the most important pieces for you guys tonight. All right, this video will either post later tonight or first thing Tuesday morning. Not quite sure. Depends on how long it takes to get ready. But let's just recap what you're getting. Right, in the 2026 Ramcharger, you are getting an extended range EV. Okay, so a 92 kilowatt hour battery that's good for 141 miles. We'll talk a little bit more about the actual capacity of that battery here in a minute. But you're also getting a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 on board that acts as a generator. Okay, very important. It does not have any mechanical connection to the wheels, but there's some nuance to this, okay, that we're going to get. In total, between that battery and the two electric motors front and rear, as well as this generator, the whole system is going to have 647 horsepower and 610 pound-feet of torque. That is slightly less than we were told initially. Initially, it said 663, I think, on both figures. So it's down from 663 to 647 on the horsepower, down to 610 pound-feet of torque. Who cares? We're in the ballpark. This is an incredibly powerful platform, and we're still talking about 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds in a very heavy half-ton pickup truck. Okay, so let's talk about the battery for a minute, because this is something that people seem to be waking up to with some new information and kind of going, oh, I thought it was going to be this, and now it's this. All right, 92 kilowatt hour battery, but only like 69.7 kilowatt hours usable. Okay, why would they do that? Well, because they're trying to keep a certain portion of this battery in reserve for all of these different modes, and in particular towing. Okay, and making sure that you always have optimal power to tap into. I think it's really important to point out that, let's just call it 70 kilowatt hours, let's round up a little bit, still gets you the 141 miles of all EV range that was announced back when the product was unveiled. Okay, so there's no change there. So if there's a silver lining to this, it's that the pure EV is actually more efficient than what we thought. I think most people who understand this technology realize that there was going to be some reserve in the battery. You weren't going to have access to the full 92 kilowatt hours. And so now that it's only 70, well, that's a little over 2 kilowatt hours per mile efficiency. And if you pay attention to pure EVs, battery electric pickup trucks, that's what you're seeing in real daily usage with these trucks, is anywhere from like as low as 1.4, 1.5 up to slightly above 2, depending on if you're driving in city or driving on the highway. So to see this number just makes sense. All right, now, in addition to being able to go 141 miles on pure EV alone, just on the battery, okay, you have an additional 550 miles available to you via the 27-gallon fuel tank and the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. Ram is saying we're still going to have 690 miles of total range. All right, so that's probably steady state driving, okay, kind of the optimal situation, but that's still really good. I think it's monumental, to be honest. And then we're going to talk about later on what the mileage actually looks like when you're towing. Okay, with the full tow rating, by the way, of 14,000 pounds. All right, which is a tremendous number. You're talking about 3/4 ton, full ton pickup truck towing ratings in a half-ton pickup truck. Okay, so that's pretty incredible. If you do exhaust that battery, it's a 400 volt architecture. It is going to charge up to 200 kilowatt per hour. That's a pretty good number as well. You know, most EVs these days you're seeing between 150 and 180, unless it's a GM Ultium product, and you can get all the way up to 350. Certainly Tesla, depending on the station that they're at, their V3s or V4s, you're going to have well into the 300s as well. But for this type of product, that charging rate is more than adequate. Okay, so it's a smaller battery pack, obviously, and you're only having to charge the 70 kilowatt hours on a level 2 or even I think it's level 3, and I think according to the photos we've seen, it's even level 4 compatible. So you're going to be able to plug this thing in at home. You're going to be able to plug it in on road trips, and you're going to be able to fuel it up in 5 minutes and fill it up with 27 gallons of fuel and just go upon your way. Okay. Let's talk about weight for a second, because I saw 2 different publications today published completely different weights. Motor1 was claiming 7,500 pounds. Forbes, and I actually recommend you go read their article. It goes into extreme depth on some of the technical specifications, particularly towing. But they back into a little over 6,000 pounds, between 6,000 and 6,200 pounds for this pickup truck. And they even go into detail how they arrive at that and how they believe Ram has saved weight by going with a smaller battery pack, and even accounting for the add back, about 500 pounds with the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. So, Ram says about 1,000 pounds more than the equivalent truck, and all that lines up more around the 6,000 to 6,200 pound number. I'm going to trust that. And we've long held, people said, oh, this truck is going to be so heavy. Well, it's actually lighter than the Ram Rev that's supposed to come out in 2026, and it's certainly lighter than the full-size EV trucks that are on the market today from General Motors and from Tesla, okay? Because you are dealing with a much smaller battery, and even with the new engine added on, it's still overall less weight. Now, one thing that we did find is that the frame has been reinforced. It's actually 8 inches wider in the middle section of the truck. There's some diagrams online. You can find them that actually show what this looks like. It's basically a whole nother beam on either side where the traditional beam for the 1500 series sits. I don't think that's, the only thing that they did that for structural rigidity and making sure that the packaging works. So let's talk about modes, because that's actually the visual that I have up here on the screen. And we have 3 modes available to us in this truck. We've got electric plus, and this is basically battery electric only. So charge it up to 100%, whatever it's at, hit electric plus, and it is going to use the energy in that battery to drive the motors in the truck. Okay, 141 miles, give or take your driving scenario, is going to come from that battery. And then once it depletes at 140 miles, then the generator, the Pentastar V6, is going to kick on, and it's going to send power directly to the 2 drive motors. All right. So it will kind of trickle charge the battery in this case. It will not fully charge, really even halfway or anything like that. It's just going to trickle charge and put a little bit of energy back into the battery in this electric plus mode. Once that generator kicks on after 140 miles, it's going to send the vast majority of its power to the front and rear electric motors. E-Save mode. E-Save mode is about maintaining your battery for usage later, whatever that scenario looks like. It could be camping. It could be, you're going to do some really steep grade towing. We'll get to that later. Or, they pointed out, mostly for international markets, if there's a congestion zone at your destination where you're only allowed to operate in EV mode. There are international markets, cities that are like that. London, for example. I'm not really aware of those in the US. Maybe there are. You guys can correct me down in the comments. Please do. But you could hit E-Save and you could maintain your battery level. Interesting note on E-Save, if the battery level is below 50%, E-Save will charge it up to 50% and then maintain it at that level. If it's above, let's say it was at 70%, it's just going to keep it right there at 70. So I thought that was interesting. The last mode that's on here is Eco mode. That's just a conservation mode. It's going to start to do things like limit your power. It's going to limit how the climate control actually works. It's going to try to optimize that, so you may get, your air conditioning or heat. You might be a little bit uncomfortable in eco mode if it's 100 degrees out or if it's 20 degrees out. And it might start also to power manage some of the other auxiliary systems in the vehicle. But those are your modes. One other thing to point out here, because I do see the axle lock button, is that by default, the Ram is going to be in 4-wheel drive mode. It's going to power the front and rear motors. Once it reaches a certain speed, it's somewhere between, I think, 20 and 25 miles an hour, it is going to decouple the front drive motor, and it's going to operate in a rear wheel drive mode by default. Now that changes if you go to sport or you go to off-road or you go into tow mode, in which case it's only going to be in four-wheel drive the entire time. That's smart. That maximizes efficiency. Now you will notice in this picture we do have some dedicated towing controls on the screen as well as the brake controller. And there's even a knob down here, a physical knob towards the bottom of your screen for rear trailer steering. Okay, so if you're backing this thing up and you need that adjustment, the tow package, I'm assuming maybe there's a separate tow package, I don't know yet, will allow you to do that. Okay. So, and there's some other things from towing. You can turn your parking sensors in the front and rear off and on. And then you also, I noticed in this photo, you can adjust the levels of the air suspension up to 5 different levels. I still don't know, didn't read anything that pointed to being able to level the truck in the 4 different corners independently, like for a camping mode. I have no idea. But that's what we're seeing here in this photo. Let's actually flip through some of these. So this is the center gauge stack. In particular, we're on a limited. It's marked as limited in most of these photos. That's what we had. And you can see that we have 2 separate gauges. You've got your fuel gauge over on the right, empty to full. You actually have a charge gauge over here on the left showing the level of the battery, 0 to 100. And then you got a separate range gauge on the left showing you your total range for the entire system. In this visual, it's 402 miles. And then over on the right, what you get is a gauge that says, basically for regen, am I putting energy back into the battery or am I using it, right? So it's going to fluctuate back and forth. I have this on the 4xe. It's kind of fun to watch sometimes, but other than that, don't really use that. I do like the layout of this screen overall. I think it's useful. There's plenty of other photos online that's going to show you more of the screens and the different types of layout that are available on the Ramcharger. Okay. Another screen in the center stack, you can actually set schedules for charging. So if you live in a state or you're with an electrical company that fluctuates their rates by time of day, you're going to be able to go in here and set your start time, your end time, your battery level that you want it to charge to. You can even select the days of the week, so you can repeat it every day, weekday, whatever it is, and you can go in and save that schedule. So really like to see that for folks who do have to think about the cost of electricity at home depending on the time of day. Okay. Again, with charge schedule, it's just showing you how you can actually manage those charge schedules, go in and adjust them. But I did notice in this screen, there's also a climate schedule. So if you're in a very cold climate and you want to warm up your car at 6 a.m. every day and it's plugged in, then go for it. You'll be able to do that. And I would assume, I don't know this precisely, but I would assume it will only do that if the car is plugged in, or it will only do that on battery power, that it's not going to go and run the generator, for instance, in your garage and with carbon monoxide poisoning. It should be smart enough to only turn on the climate schedule under EV only power. That's really cool. Alternatively, if you're down here in Texas and this truck is parked outside, you want to run, you're going to walk outside every day at 5 o'clock, you want to cool it down at work, you should be able to save that schedule in here as well. Looking through, there was over 50 photos published of the Ramcharger inside and out. There's a lot of smart thinking going into the layout of these menus and the functionality. Now, I still have questions that I need to have answered ultimately, but there's a lot going on here. Okay, charge rate. So you can actually go in here and set the different charge level that you want the car to take in. So if for some reason you went and plugged into a really high-speed charger and there was some kind of charging fault, it wasn't handling it, you could actually step that down, say from a level 4 to a level 3 to a level 2, and hopefully get the truck to go ahead and take that energy input from the charger that you're at. And I do like that it's giving you the estimated times depending on which level of charge that you're going after. I think that's great. There's plenty of driving history menus in here and range impact. It'll go in here and it'll show you 20% of your energy is going to climate control. The lights are consuming 5. It'll break all that down for you if you want it to. Now, back to the center gauge. So one thing that was talked about was having the potential for level 3 autonomous driving on this vehicle. I don't know if this is the level 3 that was announced earlier this week or not. In those articles it said, well, there's regulatory and market dynamics that need to change for full level 3. So I'm going to assume this is the level 2 driving assist. It's active driving assist. And in this visual, it's saying it's ready. And so that's your adaptive cruise control, but also your lane steering. Okay. And this is supposed to be hands off, eyes on, hands off. And you'll notice there is right here is a little device on the back side of the steering wheel that's going to monitor your vision. And if you're not monitoring the road and you're not paying attention, I'm sure it's going to alert you and tell you that you got to take back control of the vehicle. So that little icon right here, that's your lane keeping, active lane keeping, I assume. And I did notice you on the steering wheel, and we'll see if I have a photo of it here in a minute, you have your adaptive cruise control, and right in the middle of it is a button for the active lane keep. Okay, so you can engage it that way right on the steering wheel, which it should. Pentastar V6 diagram that they offered up. Sorry, it's over here over my left shoulder. I just wanted you guys to see this. This is a very tidy package. There's no alternator on this package. There's no 12-volt battery in the package either. There's no auxiliary pulleys or anything like that for the air conditioning, because that's an electrical unit. And so the Ramcharger has a very tidy gas generator package. So the engine with the generator right here in pink and purple and blue on the front side of it. So it's going to fit in there no problem and leave room for a lot of other pieces. So I did just mention, we're going to bounce back through some of these images. We'll get to this in a second. Air conditioning is electric. There's a DC to DC module on the Ramcharger. So as this thing is producing electricity, anything that's direct current in the car is going to operate off of that inverter or converter. Okay, so no 12-volt battery. Everything runs off of this module. Now, right here, we did an entire video on what we learned from the Super Bowl, and they showed us the base package power unit in the bed. This is the first image that we're getting of the upgraded power onboard module in the bed of the truck. This is the 7.2 kilowatt capable power package. And so we have the two 110s. We've got a dedicated 120, okay, that's going to handle 2.4 kilowatt maximum just to its left. And then over on further to the left, we actually have 240 volt. And between those two on the left, you're going to be able to drive 7.2 kilowatts of power, more than enough to run your power tools and anything else that you want to throw at it. So very happy to see this image for the first time and verify what we learned early on and what Ram had quoted as the top level power unit for the truck. This is a big deal. I will point out one of the things that was mentioned today is that through the charge port and an adapter, you would be able to power additional outlets or additional equipment. It was a little vague in how it was worded, but it seems like that same capability that comes on the Jeep 4xe today with the 2024 and 2025 models is via a power box that you plug into the charging port on the side of the car. You could power additional devices. It's a little clunky. I don't really know why you would need it if you've got this. And the only justification I could see for it really with the truck is, let's say you have a camper or something like that in your bed that's covering this up and you've got everything locked up and you want to be able to use those through the power port, great. There's a separate image. You definitely have another 110 in the cab in the second row for your passengers, and you probably have one for your front seat passenger somewhere in the center console or down below the center screens. I'm sure it's there. Typically, these types of trucks, especially at upper trim levels, are going to have all that capability. But it's good to see the 7.2 kilowatt max. Everybody should be happy about that. It also isn't a surprise, okay? Back to the center gauges. So this is a dedicated towing center gauge stack. So we've got our brake controls over on the left. We've got specific trailer trip monitoring baked into this gauge cluster. We have the ubiquitous navigation update as well. We know what level our trailer or our self-leveling is with the trailer on board. And then it's showing me what looks like the ability to monitor tire pressure on the trailer on the truck. At least I think that's what we're looking at. I could be wrong. That's what it looks like to me, that it's specifically for the trailer. I guess we'll have to wait and see. That doesn't look like the typical layout for a Ram 150. That looks like a trailer. I can't confirm that. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, what I think I'm seeing. Okay. I think that's kind of it for all the images that I wanted to show you guys. But let's talk about towing for a second, because this gets brought up all the time in different forums or in the comments section of our videos on the Ramcharger or the new Scout. What about towing? What about towing up a grade? What about towing up a grade in extreme conditions, you know, when it's 100 degrees outside or whatever? Ram specifically addressed that in their unloading of information on the media today, okay? And they specifically called out the SAE J2807 towing certification, which means essentially they go out to Arizona. There's a specific graded climb. It starts out at 500 feet. I think it goes up to 4,000 feet over an 11-mile distance. And they did it above 100 degrees Fahrenheit because you have to do that in order to receive your certification. And you have to do it with the AC on full on blast, okay? Climate control maxed out. And you have to be able to tow your tow rating, okay? So in this case, the 14,000 pounds, at a minimum of 40 miles an hour up this graded run. Ram is claiming that they did this and it passed, okay? It passed with a full battery. It passed with a full battery and generator. It passed with a completely depleted battery, relying only on the 270 horsepower V6 generator. Okay? That's impressive. And that should allay any fears that people have about its towing capability. Okay? Remember what I just said, fully depleted battery. They specifically called out the test and the location and the conditions for the SAE certification. And they also reference the Eisenhower Pass in Colorado, which if you follow TFL, you know their extreme towing test, that's where that takes place, okay? And so they called out those two locations and said, we passed with flying colors, we did this, we're good to go. You, as an owner, are going to be good to go. I think that's really is impressive. Now, here's what I will tell you about the towing mode. We didn't talk about towing mode, but there's off-road, there's sport, and if you go into tow mode, what it's going to do is it's going to try to maintain your battery on your journey at about 35%. It's going to do whatever it can. It's not going to allow it to go below 35. So if you start out with 100 and you go out on your road trip and you're cruising down the highway and you deplete your battery down to 35, it's going to hold it there. And the reason it's going to do that is not because it necessarily has to do it to meet this strenuous towing test. It's so that you get a better experience. So you're not just having to go 40 miles an hour up your grade. It's got enough in reserve, and this is where the Eisenhower Pass came into play, that the truck could maintain that 35% ahead of time. Once they hit the pass, it dropped down quite a bit up the pass. And then on the way down with the regenerative braking and recouping all that energy, when they got to the bottom of the Eisenhower Pass on the other side, they claimed they were at 37% battery. Okay? So they're trying to make sure that in tow mode, you're getting the right experience, let's say, and that you're not going to be dogging it out there on the interstate with a very heavy load. Now, another thing to point out is the overall efficiency towing. Okay, so full battery, full tank of fuel, the full 27 gallons, they claim with the 14,000 pound trailer, steady state conditions, that you can expect that battery to last you 39 miles of pure EV towing with the 14,000 pounds. Then your generator is going to kick in and you're going to be able to go an additional 229 miles on gasoline. That is a total of 268 miles of towing. Okay, with the Ramcharger maxed out at 14,000 pounds. That's a good result. Do the math on the napkin, it's about 8.5 miles per gallon. Okay, You're towing 14,000 pounds behind a pickup truck, 8.5 miles per gallon is about the best you're going to do. Okay, so that's great. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some diesel advocates jump in here and claim that, they're getting a lot better than that. Great. Great. But for a truck that can truly do it all, okay, it can give you just about everything you want in a truck package, you got to be happy with that result. Pricing. What Ram has said is that this truck will be priced similarly to an ICE Ram 1500 with the same attributes. Okay, well, what does that mean? With that type of towing capacity or this type of horsepower and performance, you're probably looking at the equivalent of a really high output inline six in the current Ram 1500 lineup. So it's not going to be $50,000, but it could be 65 to 80, depending on how you've optioned the truck out. That would put it in the right ballpark. And we know we're getting multiple trims, but with that kind of power, they could justify a price premium. We don't know specifics on pricing. We're speculating at this point, okay? But, we did get a ton of information today. Everybody absorbed that like you can. It's amazing when I go out and I monitor the feedback that I'm seeing on different social media platforms or responses to articles that were published late tonight or early this afternoon, I guess, about this product. There is still a tremendous amount of people, particularly EV enthusiasts, who don't understand this vehicle at all. They scoff at it. They think it's wasteful, whatever. This is an EV for people who need a truck to do truck things. They need payload. They need long distance towing. They really even need medium distance towing. Okay. And they need to do it on a regular basis. And they need to do it in places and under conditions that necessitate the kind of power and performance that this truck is going to give you. And what they get on the backside of that is they get a vehicle that they can drive every single day to the office, and they can drive to their kids' baseball games, and they can drive to their plays and everything else for their kids, and they can do it on EV power. It's the best of all these worlds. And people who scoff at that and say, oh, it's very wasteful. Do you realize what most people operate on a daily basis to accomplish the things that I just talked about? They probably have multiple cars. They have very highly inefficient gas-powered trucks, or maybe that's their own vehicle. Okay, because they've got to do those towing use cases and they've got to do the payload use cases, and therefore they're driving a 12, 13, 14 mile per gallon ICE vehicle back and forth to work every single day. So you can turn your nose up at those folks, but you're not solving their problem. And really, you're just showing that your world is very small, your world's very urban, or your world is very coastal, and you don't understand the way that most people live their lives on a daily basis. And you don't understand the American market, because I've seen comments, oh, who's actually going to buy this thing? The list is really long. The interest in our videos on this product are unlike anything we have seen with any other product coming to market, maybe other than Scout. And Scout gets that kind of attention because it's the same type of approach. It's an extended range hybrid. The EV market is about 20% of the buying public in the US. The extended range hybrid is double that. This is a really important vehicle. It's the right product at the right time for a lot more people. And I really hope that Ram gets it right. I really hope that everything that we have learned today actually translates onto the road and into your garages, and that you guys are able to go buy this and future products like it, because we got more coming from Ford. We've got products coming from Scout. We've got products in development from GM. This is how things are going to be in the light truck market and in the light SUV market as well. We know the Grand Wagoneer is coming with this exact same powertrain. We know that the future Jeep products are going to pivot to an extended range hybrid. Probably not until 2028, but the exact same thing is coming across anything like this, okay? Cars, small SUVs, things that are more urban in nature are going to go pure BEV. Makes sense. Above that, you're going to see a lot of products like this in the marketplace. Guys, that's it for Roamer tonight. We've made a commitment to you that when news breaks on this product or on Scout in particular, because of your interest level being so high, we're going to cover it. And it wasn't the easiest thing to do tonight, cobble all this together and do something late, but wanted to make sure that you got it. Please subscribe to the channel, okay? It means a lot, and your support means a lot, and it's really going to help us down the road. So thanks for watching. Romer's out.